Once a Sahabi came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ya Rasulullah ﷺ, I've lost my camel. A munafiq, a hypocrite was sitting there. And he said, do you think the Prophet ﷺ knows where your camel is? Like you have hypocrites in this day and age who question the knowledge of the Prophet ﷺ. The hypocrite said, do you think the Prophet ﷺ knows where your camel is? The Prophet ﷺ immediately said to him, your camel is in a valley and its reins are stuck on the branch. And the Prophet ﷺ told him exactly where his camel was. And then he went and he found his camel. The Prophet ﷺ, when you study the description of the Prophet ﷺ, between his blessed eyebrows, the Prophet ﷺ had a vein. Between his blessed eyebrows, the Prophet ﷺ had a vein. Yudirruhul ghadab. Sahaba say, when the Prophet ﷺ would be enraged, that's when the vein would be visible. When the Prophet ﷺ would be enraged, that's when the vein would be visible. Once a Sahabi came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said,
a Raja can only marry a Raja.
Yeah.
And a Jat can only marry a Jat. I think we went through this phase as well, didn't we? And you know, it sometimes becomes a hindrance. We've seen it in our own family, not immediate family, but within our own family, we one or two cases that come to mind without mentioning names. And then you know, it's we see it within society at large. That unfortunately,
yeah, but with the caste system, Imam Adil, it was made to divide the people and categorize them. So there was so and so's a higher caste, so and so's a lower caste, but we're all human at the end of the day. How is there superiority between us?
Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum.
Taqwa is what makes anyone superior over the other. Simple. Aqidah and amal salih. You know, founded upon the correct creed. This is what makes someone superior. Otherwise, there shouldn't be. Now, when Allah Almighty talks,
a Raja can only marry a Raja.
Yeah.
If I say to a Barelvi, you adopt Hanafi Maturidi, they have no problem with this.
Yep.
Because they already adopt those positions. If I say to them, you're a Sunni, Hanafi Maturidi, this is the real Barelvis. If I say to them that you avoid the label Barelvi and just say you're Sunni, Hanafi, Maturidi, you take your positions from the Hanafi, Maturidi school, they will have no problem with that. Additionally, if I say to them, and I'm not referring to the pseudo Barelvis. Similarly, if I say to them, you adopt, which they already have adopted, when it comes to creedal matters, we will refer back to Ibn Abdin and pre-Ibn Abdin. They will have no problem with that. With regard to buying a property, if you have the cash, it's fard for you to buy the property with cash. If you can borrow the cash, pay back those people you borrowed from in installments. Now there is one scenario where a person has a darura, he will end up living on the road. But many of the people don't fall into that. They have huge kotiyan in Mirpur, huge kotiyan in Punjab, huge kotiyan in Karachi. Yes, they have kotiyan everywhere. If that's the case, then it's fard for you to go back to Pakistan. Because if someone is watching GOTV all day in England, worried about Imran Khan being imprisoned, talking about Muslim League all day, and they have a big house, they have no majburi to live here, they should go back to Pakistan. Yes, that's the reality. If you have land, you have houses in Pakistan, you're not in darura. You go back to Pakistan and live there. But if you're in a scenario that you have no land, you have no house in Pakistan, you have no extended family, you can apply for a council house and live on council house. But nowadays some people find that embarrassing. How is it embarrassing? It's a house and Allah has given you a house, it's not embarrassing. Similarly, if it comes down to someone living on the road, then they fall into a state of darura, but very rarely people fall into that state. With regard to buying a property,
if I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment, An angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale. If I must die.
Have you heard of Prophet Al-Khadr alayhi salam? He is a prophet that is still alive till this day. Allah made the ocean for him as He made the land for us. He's mentioned in the Quran in a story that happened with Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Allah made him hidden to the eyes of normal people, and only special people can see him by the will of Allah. Some scholars said he lived so long because he drank from the spring of life, and others said it's because he buried Prophet Adam alayhi salam. Have you heard of Prophet Al-Khadr? This is wrong. I'm gonna share some very important information about Allah, so please share this video. Allah said in the Quran, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, which means Allah doesn't resemble His creations in any way. I smile, you smile. Allah Ta'ala, He doesn't smile. The hadith doesn't mean that Allah physically smiles. The scholars, they gave it a meaning that befits Allah Ta'ala. And physical smiling does not befit Allah, because that is an attribute of the creations, and Allah doesn't have any attributes of the creations. Rather, the scholars said that those terms, they refer to the deed being accepted in the judgment of Allah, meaning Allah rewards the Muslim for such a deed. We cannot take everything literal from the hadith and from the Quran. Many people, they don't even have knowledge in the Arabic language. They just open up these so-called translations and they read ignorantly, and because of that, many of them fall into blasphemy. Many people claim to be Muslims and they believe that Allah is a body up in the sky, or that He comes up and down. This is not the belief of the Muslims. Allah Ta'ala, He's not like me, He's not like you. He exists without being in a place and without having a direction. This is wrong.
The only difference between us and you is not that we are following Abu Hanifa and you are following Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The only difference is we are following the understanding of the Quran and Sunnah based on the knowledge of Imam Abu Hanifa, and you are following the understanding of Bin Baz, Uthaymeen and Albani. That's the difference. You are not following Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam directly. All you are doing is destroying 1400 years of Islamic scholarship. The only difference between us and you is not that we are